A millionaire was allergic to women until the touch of a virgin made him beg for her love. 3:12 in the morning, a blaring alarm shattered the silence of Carter Med's headquarters, the leading medical tech company in downtown Chicago. Red fire signals flashed along every hallway, accompanied by a robotic voice repeating, "Evacuate immediately. This is not a drill." Maya Brooks, 23, was pushing her heavy cleaning cart across the 23rd floor, her heart pounding. She sighed. "Probably another false alarm," she muttered, pulling her mask up as she guided the cart toward the service elevator. Third time this week, the fire alarm had gone off during the night shift, and it was always during her shift. "These things always pick my nights," she grumbled, hands gripping the cart's handles, maneuvering past exposed electrical cables under maintenance. At that same moment, on the 32nd floor, Ethan Carter, founder and former CEO of Carter Med, was suffering through one of his worst allergic reactions ever. His eyes were bloodshot, throat burning, skin blotchy with red welts. The culprit wasn't fire, but a forgotten bottle of women's perfume on the boardroom table left by his former assistant. For the last 10 years, Ethan had avoided any physical contact with women. His rare psychosomatic condition caused severe allergic skin reactions whenever a woman touched him, or even got too close. It wasn't fatal, but it had forced him to isolate himself from nearly all human connection. He stumbled out of his office, hand dragging along the wall, trying to make it to the emergency stairwell, the only place with cool air he could breathe. Then fate struck. At the turn between the 24th and 25th floors, Maya was trying to wrestle her cleaning cart through the fire exit when Ethan crashed straight into her, his body collapsing from exhaustion. They both went down hard, the cart tipping over, sending cleaning supplies flying. Glass cleaner, soap, everything spilled in a chemical rainstorm. They landed in a tangled heap, arms and legs entwined, the sharp scent of bleach filling the air. "Holy crap! I'm so sorry!" Maya scrambled to get up, panic in her voice, but her foot slid on a puddle of soap, and she slipped again, crashing down beside him. Ethan stayed still, breathing heavily, wide-eyed. A woman's hand was on his shoulder. She was trying to help him sit up. Her hand pressed firmly through his shirt, and he could breathe. No hives, no coughing, no reaction. Maya, unaware of who he really was, leaned in, concerned. "Hey, are you okay? You looked like you were about to pass out." Ethan stared at her. A young woman, her curly hair tied back, wearing a dark blue janitor uniform, face weary but sincere. She had no idea who he was, and her hand was still on his shoulder. I think I'm fine," Ethan stammered. "You sure? You looked like you were having an asthma attack or something." Maya examined him with the precision of a trained nurse. "No, not asthma. Some kind of allergy." Maya nodded thoughtfully. "You allergic to cleaning chemicals?" Ethan chuckled. Soft, unfamiliar. "No, something else, but I guess this time, no ambulance needed." She exhaled in relief. "Good. One more thing going wrong and I might have been fired. That cart didn't survive the crash." Ethan looked around, then back at her. He still couldn't believe it. For the first time in over a decade, a woman had touched him, and nothing happened. The two of them sat on the hallway floor, surrounded by spilled cleaners, crumpled rags, and soap bottles rolling in every direction. Neither rushed to stand up. Maya glanced at the man still catching his breath beside her. "You're sure you don't need a doctor? I'm studying nursing. I could check you out if you want." Ethan turned his head. "She just said, nursing student?" "Oh, no, it's fine. I think I'm just a little overwhelmed," he said, trying to sound casual. Maya nodded, then chuckled. "Honestly, makes sense. It's almost 3 a.m. Not exactly peak hour for hallway traffic." Ethan hesitated. Clearly, a tech CEO wandering the building in the middle of the night didn't sound very believable. "I work in tech, security systems," he blurted. "I usually do server maintenance at night. Less disruption to daily operations." Maya looked up, eyes wide. "Wow, that actually sounds cool. I've never met someone who works in that kind of tech." Ethan gave a soft smile. "And you are?" Maya from the night cleaning crew." He nodded. Ethan from IT." She repeated it with a smile. "Ethan from IT, got it. They both chuckled. The conversation was short, simple, but Ethan felt something strangely real in it. No suspicious glances, no curiosity about his money or fame. Just two people, accidentally sitting in a puddle of soap in the middle of a sleepless building. Maya stood up first and extended her hand. "Come on, night tech guy. Help me clean up this mess before I get fired." Ethan took her hand. No allergic reaction. No itching, no burning. Just a warm, solid grip. "All right," he replied, still a bit amazed at his own body. "Teach me how to mop." "Oh," Maya said with a laugh, tilting her head. "You'll regret that offer." Ethan shrugged. "If it means I get to stay here with you a bit longer, I'll mop the whole building." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Maya blinked, surprised, then laughed again. "Wow, Ethan from IT's got some smooth lines." Ethan smiled, but inside his thoughts were tangled. He'd never met anyone like her. She wasn't trying to impress. She didn't flinch. She didn't look at him like a title. She looked at him like a real person, and his body responded like it had finally found somewhere safe. Every night after that fateful encounter, Ethan came back. At first, he told himself it was to check the server room, but eventually even he stopped pretending. He came for Maya. Always Maya. She appeared like clockwork at 10 p.m., ponytail tied up high, rubber gloves on, and a genuine smile on her face, completely unaware she was calming a storm inside someone else. Ethan started memorizing her schedule. Every time he heard the familiar squeak of her cleaning cart rolling down the hallway, his heart beat a little faster. He waited, and Maya was always surprised to see him again. "Wow, another coincidence? Ethan from IT?" she asked on his fourth random appearance on the 26th floor. Ethan shrugged. "The servers on this floor are a bit temperamental." Maya smirked, tilting her head. "Poor, lonely servers." And just like that, they became a midnight team, one mopping the floors, the other offering tech support. Ethan learned how to use a mop, how to tell disinfectant from glass cleaner. Naturally, he was terrible at it at first, causing Maya to burst into laughter every time he spilled water or slipped on freshly cleaned tiles. "No, no, no. You don't just pour the cleaner straight onto the floor," Maya scolded, pulling his hand gently. "You dilute it first, then go in figure eights like this." She guided his hand with hers, leading the motion, hand in hand. Ethan didn't pull away, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to. The quiet building at night, the dim hallway lights, the soft hum of vents, all of it created a separate world. One where he could be himself, no titles, no boardrooms, no million-dollar decisions. Here, he was Ethan, just a man, beside an extraordinary woman. One night, after finishing the boardroom floor, Maya leaned her mop against the wall and smiled at him. "You know," she said, "I don't think I've ever laughed this much during a shift." Ethan smiled back. "I don't think I've ever mopped a floor." "Oh, what an honor for me," she teased. "No, the honor's mine." Their eyes met in a moment of quiet. Not awkward, not forced, just connection. Real and unspoken. Ethan had never felt anything like it. He used to believe people only came close for the money, the power, the image. But Maya, she didn't know. She didn't care. And every time she adjusted his collar, or touched his sleeve, or laughed loudly at his clumsiness, Ethan felt something inside him starting to heal. His allergy, it wasn't just physical. Part of it was fear. Fear of being used, of being wanted for the wrong reasons. And Maya, she wanted nothing but honesty. That night as she walked away, Maya waved from the end of the hallway. "See you tomorrow?" Ethan nodded. Absolutely, for the first time in years, Ethan felt normal. Not Ethan Carter, the genius behind Carter Med. Not the man on the cover of Forbes or the strange recluse rumored to be allergic to women. Here, surrounded by mop buckets and cleaning cloths, he was just a man learning how to mop from a down-to-earth, genuine girl. No one looked at him with admiration or hidden agendas. Maya looked at him like a teammate, just Ethan from IT, harmless and a little clumsy. And that brought him a strange sense of peace. For once, he didn't have to wear the mask. He could laugh when he slipped, sigh when he messed up, or stay quiet when he just wanted to listen. No pressure, no fear, no pretending. He never realized how precious it was, just to feel like a regular person. Some nights Ethan didn't do anything except watch Maya, not in a weird or obsessive way, but in the quiet, thoughtful way of someone who's trying to memorize everything. The way her eyes focused when she mopped, how she hummed along to music in her earbuds, or how she frowned when water splashed onto her shoes. Everything about Maya made him feel at peace, and strangely, he couldn't explain why. Ethan had met hundreds of women, successful entrepreneurs, brilliant scientists, glamorous socialites at fancy galas, but none of them, not a single one, had ever made his body react normally. Not just in the sense of being physically unaffected, but in the deeper sense of being emotionally calm. With Maya, things just felt effortless. One night, as they were cleaning the 27th floor hallway, Maya stretched her back and sighed. My spine screaming. This job should come with a chiropractor. Ethan chuckled. I can personally confirm that. Oh yeah, since meeting me, you've become a mopping pro, she teased, nudging his leg with her foot. Actually, Ethan hesitated, I think I'm getting a little better. Maya tilted her head, narrowing her eyes playfully. Next time, I'll test you by letting you clean the bathrooms. Ethan burst into laughter, a real, unguarded laugh that felt like something he hadn't done in years. There was something about Maya that made Ethan want to stay. Not because she was stunning in some dramatic, glamorous way, but because she was real. Every word, every gesture came from the heart. She wasn't performing. She wasn't trying to impress. She was simply herself. And in Ethan's world, where everyone hid behind intentions and every smile had a price, Maya felt like open sky. For the first time, Ethan wondered, is this what it feels like to fall in love? Not the flashy, fast kind, but the slow, quiet kind. The kind that sinks in gently, built from every touch, every joke, every peaceful silence. Every time Maya laughed, his chest ached in the best way. Every time she walked away, he felt empty. And every time she said, see you tomorrow, the entire next day felt like it had purpose. He didn't know if this was love, but Ethan knew one thing for sure. Whatever this feeling was, he couldn't explain it, and he didn't want to. Ethan never thought that feeling would end. Every night with Maya felt like a beautiful pause, cut off from the real world. No pressure, no titles, no illness existed between them. Just glances, laughter, and gentle touches that no longer needed fear. He started living for the nights, and during the day, the role of CEO began to feel meaningless. He delegated more, skipped meetings, dodged social obligations. His whole world slowly shrank to Maya, and he knew sooner or later he would have to tell her the truth. But a Monday night. Maya had just started her shift when her supervisor called, voice brisk. Maya, I need you to clean the 35th floor first tonight. Big board meeting in the morning. Everything needs to be spotless, especially the executive conference room. Maya sighed, glancing at the clock. 10:07 p.m. The 35th floor, the top floor, was usually off limits to her. It housed the executive offices and high-level meetings. But tonight, she nodded, pushed her cleaning cart into the elevator, and didn't think twice. The boardroom was spacious and cold, with glass walls overlooking the Chicago skyline. Maya hummed softly to the instrumental music in her earbuds as she wiped down the long table. Then she walked into the CEO's office. She was only planning to do a quick dusting, but something caught her eye. A photo. Hanging behind the desk in a sleek silver frame was a portrait of Ethan Carter, founder of Carter Med. She froze. It was him. That same face, that soft smile, the messy brown hair, the calm eyes. Ethan from IT. Pieces clicked into place. His vague answers, the expensive shirts, the designer watch he never mentioned. The way he knew the building so well, and how he always happened to be on whichever floor she was working. Maya's heart pounded. He had lied to her. She stepped back, then another step, her breath caught in her throat. All those nights laughing, sharing stories, all the gentle touches. Built on a lie, he knew who he was. She didn't. She was the fool who believed the honesty in his eyes, who thought a guy would mop floors for fun with no agenda, who thought she was special, important, the only one. She shoved the office door open and stormed down the hallway. Her earbuds were still playing, but she couldn't hear anything, just the pounding in her chest. When Ethan arrived at the building at 10:30 as usual, Maya was already gone. And by morning, HR had received a handwritten resignation letter. Due to personal reasons, I am terminating my contract effective immediately. No explanation, no goodbye, no chance for him to say anything at all. Ethan called Maya the next day, then the next, then every day that week. No response. He texted, emailed, even showed up at the student housing she once mentioned. But Maya wasn't there anymore. It was like she had vanished from his world, leaving no opening for him to reach her. For the first time in years, Ethan felt completely lost. Without her, nothing made sense. The quiet nights had vanished, replaced with long days of anxiety, guilt, and restlessness. And then his condition returned. Not from physical contact, but from mental stress. The pressure, the insomnia, the emotional storm, it all built up until his skin flared, itchy and inflamed, his breathing shallow. He collapsed in his office. 3 days later, Ethan woke up in a private hospital room. His skin still burned faintly, but the coughing had eased. The head nurse walked in with a soft smile. "You've had one very dedicated intern looking after you." Then the door opened. Maya walked in, wearing her nursing scrubs, hair tied back, a mask on her face. But he knew it was her instantly, just by her eyes. Ethan's heart stopped. She looked at him too. Not surprised, not happy, just calm, colder than anything he'd ever felt from her. "Hello," she said, voice steady. "I'm the nursing intern assigned to this floor." Ethan wanted to sit up, say her name, apologize, explain everything, but his throat was dry, and Maya's eyes didn't give him the chance. "I'm just going to check your vitals," she continued, as if he were any other patient. She placed the monitor on his wrist. Her hand brushed against his skin, and once again, no allergic reaction. Ethan's heart ached. He didn't know what hurt more, the fact that she left, or that she could still touch him, but her heart was no longer there. Maya finished writing in the chart and said quietly, "If you need anything, press the call button. I'll ask someone else to assist." She turned toward the door. "Wait!" Ethan croaked, his voice dry and hoarse. But Maya didn't stop. The door closed behind her, soft and quiet, as if nothing had ever happened between them. But to Ethan, it was the loudest heartbreak he'd ever heard. The door closed, but Ethan's heart remained wide open, aching and hollow. He had thought that if he ever saw Maya again, maybe things could start over, that a sincere apology might fix everything. But that cold stare, that silence, it felt like an ending that needed no words. Ethan lay motionless in the hospital bed, eyes fixed on the sterile white ceiling, a single thought echoing in his mind. Have I lost her for good? But then he remembered that last touch, how she had placed her hand on his skin, and his body didn't react. It meant something. It meant the feeling was still there, somewhere beneath the hurt. And if it was still there, he wouldn't give up. He waited all night, and the next morning, still no sign of her. By day 3, Ethan approached the nurse's station. No one gave details, but a younger nurse hesitated before saying, "The intern, she just finished the morning shift, might still be in the second-floor staff lounge." Ethan didn't hesitate. He rushed there. The door was slightly ajar. He knocked gently. "Maya, it's me, Ethan. Please, just let me explain." No response. "Maya, you don't have to forgive me. Just hear me out." A long pause. Then the door opened. Maya stepped out, wearing a light coat over her scrubs. Her hair was damp, freshly washed, no makeup. Her eyes tired, dark from sleepless nights, yet still heartbreakingly beautiful. "What's left to explain?" she asked quietly but firmly. "Was I just a joke? A humble experience for a bored CEO?" Ethan shook his head, eyes pleading. "No, not for a second. You're the most real thing I've had in my life in years." Maya clenched her hands. "Then why lie? You knew who you were. You knew who I was, and you still chose to hide the truth. Because I was scared, Ethan admitted. Scared that if you knew I was Ethan Carter, you'd see me the way everyone else does, with admiration, suspicion, or for what I can offer. But you didn't. You saw me as a person, and for the first time I felt alive. Maya gave a bitter laugh. And I thought I was special. Turns out it was just a performance. No, every feeling was real. Every second with you was real. Ethan took a step forward. If it wasn't, why am I hurting this much? Why did I come back here just to see you? Even if all you say is that you hate me? Her eyes faltered. You're someone with everything. I have nothing. That's a gap I can never cross. But you're the only one I can touch, Ethan whispered. No one else. Just you. Silence. Maya blinked. A tear escaped. I don't know. I trusted you. I really did. And you broke that. She turned to leave. But in doing so, her arm brushed against the sleeve of his shirt. Ethan froze. No hives, no flare-up, no shortness of breath. His body was still normal. They both paused. Maya pulled her arm back like she'd touched fire, eyes wide with shock. No, that's not possible, Ethan whispered. My body doesn't lie, Maya. Even if you hate me, even if you're angry, my heart still recognizes you. And I think, somewhere inside you, the feeling is still there. Maya said nothing, just looked at him, hurt, furious, vulnerable, and breaking. She turned away quickly, walking down the hallway, so he wouldn't see her cry. Ethan didn't follow. He knew, right now no words would help, only time and truth, and he would wait, as long as it took. Maya walked away, but inside her was a storm she couldn't name. She wasn't sure if she was angry, heartbroken, or just afraid. Afraid that if she stayed, her heart would soften. Afraid that if she turned back, every wall she'd built would collapse. But she couldn't deny one truth. When she touched him, Ethan didn't react. Not once, but multiple times. And her heart still skipped a beat every time his eyes found hers. As for Ethan, after that encounter, he stopped rushing. He began to change, not to prove himself, but because he wanted to be worthy of what they'd shared. He helped other patients, talked with nurses, stayed on as a volunteer. He waited, not with words, but with quiet actions. And then one day Maya came back. Not with forgiveness, but because her heart could no longer bear the distance. Ethan had tried everything to step back into Maya's world. He waited outside the hospital after her shifts, sent handwritten letters, and quietly volunteered for weeks. But despite being physically present, he remained a stranger in her eyes. Maya kept her distance, no longer angry, no longer warm, just distant. And that, to Ethan, was far more painful than any harsh word could have been. One chilly autumn afternoon, as he sat silently on a familiar hospital bench, Ethan remembered something Maya once told him. Her mother had been a nurse for more than 20 years, a strong, single woman who always stayed when others walked away, who kept going no matter how tired she was. Maya had said, "My mom is the kind of person who, once she chooses to love someone, she never turns her back on them." And in that moment, Ethan realized, if there was anywhere he could start again, it was where Maya's heart had first been raised. He left the hospital that very afternoon, holding a simple bouquet of white daisies and a small bag of cinnamon scones, something Maya once called the only food my mom ever calls fancy. The house on the edge of Chicago was modest and aged, but clean and full of warmth. When the door opened, Ethan found himself face to face with the woman who had raised Maya, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes sharp yet calm, like someone who had seen all sides of life. Ethan didn't hide anything. He didn't try to explain away his actions. He told the whole story, from the strange condition that caused his body to react violently to physical contact, to the quiet, lonely nights spent alone at the top of his office tower, where he first met Maya. He spoke of the suffocating loneliness behind his expensive suits, of how her gaze made him feel like a real person, and of the fear that telling her the truth would mean losing the only thing that ever felt real. Her mother didn't interrupt. She simply listened, her gaze steady. Not cold, not sympathetic, just the calm presence of someone who knew love didn't come from words, but from the pain behind a trembling voice. When Ethan finished, his voice raw and low, she slowly placed her teacup on the table and said, "She's not angry because of who you are. She's angry because you didn't trust her enough to tell her the truth." The words landed like a blade across Ethan's chest, not because they were cruel, but because they were completely true. He bowed his head, acknowledging every bit of it. Then he said firmly and without hesitation that he had nothing left to hide, and he didn't want to live another day without Maya in his life. The woman stared at him for a long while, then nodded softly. She stood, walked to a nearby shelf, and pulled out an old photo album. She turned to a page where young Maya, no older than 4, stood proudly in a pair of shoes, her first bought with her mother's night shift wages. "She doesn't need much to be happy," the woman said gently, "but she does need honesty. If you truly love her, don't give up. But don't try to prove it with money or status. Live in a way that shows you're worthy of her." From that day forward, Ethan changed his approach. He stopped chasing Maya. He disappeared from her sight, but reappeared everywhere that truly mattered. He joined the same community projects her mother once served. He taught tech skills to underprivileged children. He helped repair the roof of the nursing home where Maya had interned. He showed up at the hospital every Saturday morning, not to find her, but to help clean the playground and support the volunteer team. He anonymously donated to patients who couldn't afford treatment. He stopped explaining. He stopped trying to win. He just acted with quiet consistency. And then one morning, as Maya passed the hospital playground on her way to deliver medication to the pediatric ward, she happened to glance toward the sandbox. There she saw a man kneeling to tie the shoelaces of a disabled little boy. The child laughed and threw his arms around the man, like he'd found his own tiny superhero. It was Ethan. Gone were the tailored suits and polished shoes. He wore a simple rolled-up shirt, his hair tousled by the wind, his hands covered in dust. And in that moment, Maya no longer saw the man who had lied to her. She saw a man becoming the best version of himself, not to win her back, but because he chose to be better, even if it meant never getting anything in return. And her heart, though still hurting, though still cautious, could no longer deny that truth. One late autumn afternoon, Ethan sent Maya a short message. "Saturday, 7 o'clock in the evening, 27th floor, where it all began. I'm not asking for anything, just your presence. No exclamation marks, no hearts, just an invitation, quiet and sincere." Maya read the message, her heart skipping a soft beat. In the past few weeks, she had seen how much he had changed. He was no longer Ethan Carter, the CEO with the cold eyes and packed schedule. He was just a man who knelt to tie a child's shoelace, who swept playgrounds, who spent his time helping others without asking for recognition. Saturday evening she went. The Carter Med Tower still reached proudly into the sky, but as Maya stepped into the elevator and pressed floor 27, back to that quiet hallway bathed in fluorescent light, her heart thumped as if she were meeting him for the first time again. When the doors opened, Ethan was already waiting at the far end of the hallway, right at the spot where he'd once clumsily held a mop, and she had laughed. But this time, he didn't smile. He simply looked at her, his gaze soft, almost breathless. "Thank you for coming," he said. His voice was low, unhurried. "I didn't ask you here to apologize again, and not to say that I love you, even though that's still the truth." Maya stayed silent. Ethan took a few slow steps closer, careful not to invade her space. "I asked you here for just one thing," he said. "Not a promise, not a chance to go back. Just a new beginning. No lies, no pretending. Not Ethan Carter, the CEO. Not Maya, the intern. Just Ethan and Maya. Two people, two friends." She looked at him, and in that moment, it was as if all the walls she'd built began to crack. She remembered that look in his eyes, not the gaze of someone who had everything, but of someone who simply wanted to stay in her life, even if only in the smallest way. Maya nodded slowly, a faint smile blooming across her lips. "Not falling in love again," she said. "Just starting over as friends." Ethan smiled, and this time it was a real smile, light, free, no expectations, no pressure. They stood there for a long while in the quiet hallway on floor 27, the place where it all began, not with grand declarations or sweeping gestures, but with a simple nod and a silence that said more than words ever could. Sometimes to keep someone in your life, you don't need to promise forever. You just need the courage to begin again. Not long after they reunited on the 27th floor, Ethan handed in his resignation. No longer the CEO of CarterMed, no more corner office, no more assistants, no more boardrooms. Just a man, ready to let go of everything in order to start over, this time with a whole and honest heart. He enrolled in a small medical school, not to become a doctor, but to better understand himself, his strange condition, and the world Maya had quietly dedicated herself to. He chose to sit among younger students, to learn how to listen instead of command, to understand instead of control. And for the first time in his life, he didn't feel like he was stepping backward. He felt like he was finally on the right path. As for Maya, after years of effort, she graduated as a registered nurse. She didn't choose a fancy hospital or a prestigious clinic. She chose a small community health center near home, where patients called her the nurse with the warmest smile in the world. They lived in a modest apartment with 2 sunlit windows, a small balcony just big enough for flower pots, and an old bookshelf where Ethan kept his medical textbooks beside children's storybooks. There was nothing extravagant, no fame, but every morning they woke up next to each other, brewed coffee for one another, and smiled like the world needed nothing more. One drizzly afternoon, Ethan sat beside Maya on the wooden bench of their balcony, his hands trembling slightly as he held something small. It wasn't a ring, it wasn't a velvet box, it was a ballpoint pen. Ethan looked out at the gray sky, then turned back to her. "This pen," he said, his voice husky and soft, "was what I used to write my very first letter to you. I kept it, because that was the first time I ever said something truly honest." Maya looked at him, chuckled lightly, but her eyes shimmered. Ethan took her hand, placed the pen in her palm, and looked straight into her eyes. "I don't need a grand proposal. I just want to live this life with you. Not as a CEO or someone with a rare condition, just as Ethan, a man who loves you. Please," he whispered, "use this pen to write the rest of our story, starting today." Maya didn't speak. She simply bowed her head, smiled, and nodded. Their wedding wasn't grand. No glittering gowns, no ballroom receptions, just family, a few close friends, and a simple backyard gathering where Maya's mother hugged Ethan like her own son, and where the couple held hands and danced a clumsy little waltz beneath strings of warm hanging lights. Years later, in their tiny kitchen, as their daughter ran in asking for a bedtime story, Ethan scooped her up in his arms, kissed her forehead, and gently whispered, "Once upon a time, there was a man who couldn't touch anyone until he met the one person he could, and that person touched his heart first." Because true love isn't about perfect promises. It's about being able to live as your truest self and still be loved completely for who you are.